You just started your session, and suddenly one participant stood up and interrupted you, questions your experience, and challenges your credibility right in front of everyone. How would you feel? That's what happened to me. I was speaking to a very unique group, and this unique group was a group of pilots. Not just pilots, but pilots who have retired and they are now becoming flight instructors. And the average age of this group was about 68 or 69. So I started my session. And just as I started, someone took his hand up, interrupted me, and wanted to ask a question. And I had to say, okay, sure, go ahead. And he said, E.T., my name is not Peter. My name is Bruce. And I would like to ask you one question. I would like to know, E.T., what do you know about our industry? And what do you know about our jobs to be doing this? Wow. I was shocked. I was surprised. I was half expecting this, but I wasn't expecting this so soon. You know, I glanced over at my client who engaged me. You know what he did? He looked back at me and he smiled. He was waiting to see how I would respond. This was what I said. I said, Captain Bruce, thank you for the question. It is a fair question. I do not come from the aviation industry. I am not a pilot. And I'm not here to talk about anything technical. I'm here to share my experience as a speaker, facilitator, and trainer. And hopefully with some of my sharing, you could probably take back one or two new ideas and probably change your mindset on how you approach your teaching or your instructing. I also said, I actually spent 3 months preparing for this training. I've been to your office, I've observed you at work, I've interviewed your pilots, I have even been into the flight simulator 3 times, just to have a feel what it's like to be a pilot. And that's what I've done to prepare for this. He looked at me, he said, okay, I accept, you may proceed. And he sat down. I survived that because I was prepared. And I took months to prepare for that. So learn the industry, learn the lingo. Preparation invested is never wasted. You know, when I was looking at the client who looked back at me, although he was smiling, I could sense inside him, he was just as nervous as I was. You know why? Because his neck was on the line. Because he was the one that spoke to management and convinced management to hire someone like E.T., a non-aviation guy, a non-pilot guy, to come and train these captains. And it's not easy. But he convinced them to take a risk, try something new. And I was that risk. So I had to make sure I did well. Not just for me, but I had to make sure he won. I want to make sure he succeeded. So always remember, let the client win. Know who is the client. It's not just the audience, but it's also your buyer, who put his reputation online to recommend you to management to get the approval. Remember, it's about them, it's not about you. One of the reasons why I did well in that talk was because I was very clear on the objectives. Now, a lot of these pilots, they've been flying 30, 40, 50 years. All right, to be honest, at that time, they've been flying longer than I have been alive. Which means they were trained back in the 1960s and 70s. And many of them were trained in the military. But now that they're instructors, some of them use the same method they were trained to train the new 25-year-old cadets. Does it work? Well, what the company wanted was to change their mindset to embrace a new way of teaching the cadets. Which means allowing the cadets to even ask questions and challenge the instructor. Even welcoming that, because that's the best way to learn. And I understood the objectives, and I delivered on that. So know their problems and deliver your solution. Let me share with you another client of mine. I was doing a project on a 360 feedback project on the management team and the CEO, where you compile feedback on the management team, feedback from superiors, peers, and subordinates. You compile all the feedback and you present to the CEO and the teams. So I was presenting to the HR manager all the outputs and all the reports, and I could see that she was a little bit hesitant and a little bit worried, especially with the CEO's report, because some of the feedback were very harsh, very direct. And I could sense that she was a bit uncomfortable and not sure what to do with this. So this is what I did. I said, look, would it help that if it was me who presented this feedback to your CEO? As soon as I said that, I could see her breathe a sigh of relief. Oh yes, E.T., thank you so much. If you can help me do that, that'd be great. It wasn't part of the project, it wasn't part of the deal, I was not being paid for it, but I knew that it probably would be easier to have an external party present this rather than his direct report. So I offered something extra. She scheduled half an hour with the CEO. That half an hour became 1.5 hours. We had a very good, very open, very honest conversation, but I let him know upfront that my intentions were good. I'm going to be open, I'm going to be direct, because nobody else is going to dare to tell you this except me. And I let him know what his objectives was, because I wanted them to win. So ask yourself, whenever you work with a client, how else can I value add? What else can I do? And sometimes you do it with no expectations. It's just to help, it's just to value add. Finally, maintain the relationship. Now, the problem with us speakers, trainers, and facilitators is sometimes every time we contact the client, it's always about chasing the proposal, following up on the quotation, getting the deal, getting the signature. It's all about business. But how about engaging your clients differently? I was doing a program for a client, and I found out that his son just graduated, and his son was applying for management trainee programs. And he was shortlisted to be in one of the final rounds of assessment. Now, I do assessment centers and interviews. So what I did was I shared with him some tips and interviews for his son to be shared with his son. And he was so grateful. And then when I got back home that evening, I actually looked through all my clients who were also running management training programs, that was open for recruitment. I compiled a list, I sent it over to him. I say, hey, perhaps your son would also like to apply for some of these. No expectations, it's just adding value, helping the client. And I did that to help him, and he was grateful. And I believe this is one of the reasons why I'm fortunate that I get clients who come back after 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, even 15 years, because they remember what I did for them 15 years ago. So in summary, always be prepared. Let the client win. Be clear on the objectives. Offer something extra and maintain the relationship. Those of you who would like a copy of my slides, what you can do is scan my QR code, send me the message B.L.O.O.M, and I will share the slides with you.